Hey everyone, glad to see you here today. With Thanksgiving coming up, I know it can feel tough. Holidays often bring up mixed emotions. Maybe you're feeling the weight of not being able to see your family, or figuring out how to fit back in after some time away. It's okay to feel that. Today, we're going to go over some real-life tools to help you through it. We've got a list of 20 coping skills, and I promise, they're not the typical take deep breaths kind of advice. These are skills you can use when your uncle starts talking trash, when you're feeling left out, or when old anger starts bubbling up. I want you to leave here with ways to make it through the holiday feeling more in control, more relaxed, and maybe even a little proud of yourself. Thanksgiving is about gratitude, right? Well, today, let's be grateful for progress. Every one of you has made progress to get here, and learning these skills is another step forward. We'll keep it fun, because nobody wants a dry lecture. Let's talk, share, and maybe even laugh as we figure out how to handle Thanksgiving with a calm mind and a cool head. Let's do this. We've all had moments where the heat rises, and you feel like you're about to lose control. That's the danger zone. The good news? You have the power to step out of that zone before things spiral into something you regret. Today, we're going to cover practical skills to help you manage those moments, stay in control, and avoid old traps. This isn't about judgment, it's about giving you tools to handle your emotions in a way that doesn't cost you your freedom, your relationships, or your peace of mind. Let's keep it fun, keep it real, and most importantly, keep it useful. Ready? Let's go! Skill 1, Breathing Techniques, Deep and Paced Breathing. Let me keep it real with you. Sometimes, anger feels like a bomb about to go off inside you, right? Your heart's pounding, your chest is tight, and you feel like you're about to lose control. That's because anger lights up your fight or flight response, making you feel like you're in a life or death situation, even if you're just arguing about who left the dishes in the sink. Here's the good news, you've got a built-in fire extinguisher for that anger, and it's called breathing. Not the kind of breathing you're already doing. You're here, so I know you're breathing, but slow, intentional breaths that calm your body down before it makes a bad choice for you. How to use the skill? Here's how it works. When you're ready to blow, try this. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for 4 seconds. Slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. Do this a few times, and it's like telling your brain, hey, we're not in danger. We're safe. Relax. Your heart rate slows down, and suddenly, you're back in control. Let's look at a scenario. It's a Saturday night, and you've been looking forward to some quiet time. Your partner, on the other hand, decided to invite a few friends over without telling you. The music's loud, people are in your space, and you feel disrespected. Your first instinct? To march out there and shout, "What the hell were you thinking?" Applying the skill. But before you let the anger take over, you remember this breathing technique. You head to the bathroom, close the door, and start. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4. Exhale slowly for 6. As you breathe, your shoulders start to relax. That tight feeling in your chest eases up. By the time you come out of the bathroom, you're not ready to fight, you're ready to talk. Instead of starting a war, you calmly pull your partner aside and say, "Hey, I wasn't expecting company tonight. Can we talk about this next time before inviting people over?" Why this works? Here's the magic, breathing isn't just about calming your body, it's about taking back control of the situation. When you're calm, you can actually solve the problem instead of adding fuel to the fire. You're not giving up your power, you're using it wisely. And the best part? Nobody knows you're doing it. You could be at a family barbecue or even sitting in traffic, and this tool is right there in your back pocket. Skill 2, Stop skill. Alright, let's talk about those moments when you're one step away from saying or doing something you'll regret. You're heated, emotions are running wild, and it feels like you're stuck on a fast track to chaos. That's where the stop skill comes in. It's like slamming the brakes on a runaway car before it crashes. Stop doesn't just mean freeze up. It's a 4-step process to get your power back when things are spiraling out of control. Think of it as your anger management blueprint in the heat of the moment. How to use the skill. Here's how it works. Stop, literally pause, don't say a word, don't move, don't react. Take a step back, physically or mentally remove yourself. Take a deep breath, or if you need to, leave the room. Observe, pay attention to what's really going on. What are you feeling? What is your body doing? What's the other person feeling or doing? Proceed mindfully, decide on your next move, but do it with a clear head, not in the heat of emotion. Let's look at a scenario. You're at home, and your partner starts in on you about something small. Why do I always have to clean up after you? Can't you ever just put your stuff away? You're instantly defensive, thinking, here we go again. You feel the heat rising, and your mouth is about to say, well, maybe if you weren't so lazy, I wouldn't have to do everything else. Applying the skill. But instead of firing back, you remember stop. S. Stop. You shut your mouth before the words come out. T. Take a step back. You take a literal step back, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly. O. Observe. You notice your hands are clenched, your partner looks frustrated, and maybe this isn't just about the mess, it's about something deeper. P. Proceed mindfully. You respond calmly. I can see you're upset. Let's talk about this instead of arguing. By stopping and assessing the situation, you prevent a full-blown fight. Instead, you start a conversation. Why this works? Let's be real, acting in anger is easy, but it's also costly. Stop forces you to pause and think instead of reacting on impulse. When you take control of the moment, you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting your relationship. And remember, nobody expects you to be perfect. Even if you have to walk away and come back, that's still a win because you're keeping the situation from escalating. Skill 3. Cognitive restructuring. Let me ask you this, how often do your thoughts make your anger worse? You know what I mean. Someone says or does something, and before you know it, your brain is feeding you lines like, they don't respect me. They always do this. I've had enough. The problem is, those thoughts are like gasoline on the fire. Cognitive restructuring is a skill that helps you challenge those hot-headed thoughts and replace them with something more accurate and way less dangerous. It's about controlling the story you tell yourself so your anger doesn't take over. How to use the skill. Here's how you do it. Notice the thought. What's the story your mind is telling you? Challenge the thought. Is it true? Is it helpful? Or is it just making you angrier? Replace the thought, find a calmer, more accurate way to see the situation. Let's look at a scenario. You've been working late all week, trying to provide for your family. You come home exhausted, and your partner says, nice of you to finally show up. That stings, and your brain instantly fires off, they don't appreciate anything I do. I should just stop trying. Applying the skill. Instead of letting that thought control you, you pause and restructure it. Notice the thought, they don't appreciate me. Challenge the thought, is it really true? No. They've thanked me before, and they're probably just feeling stressed or lonely right now. Replace the thought, they're frustrated, but this isn't about me. I'll talk to them calmly. When you respond, it's not with anger but understanding. I know it's been a rough week. Let's sit down and talk about how we're both feeling. Why this works? Here's the deal, the story you tell yourself shapes how you act. If you believe they don't care, you're going to react with anger. But if you step back and see things more clearly, you'll respond in a way that helps instead of hurts. Cognitive restructuring gives you the power to rewrite the narrative and stay in control of your emotions. Skill 4. Radical acceptance. Alright, this one might feel like a hard pill to swallow, but hear me out. Sometimes, life throws stuff at you that you just can't change. Maybe it's something your partner said, a bad financial decision, or even something from the past. You can't go back and fix it, no matter how much you want to. Radical acceptance is about saying, this is the way it is right now. I don't have to like it, but I can handle it. It doesn't mean you agree with what happened, it means you're letting go of the fight with reality so you can focus on what you can control. How to use the skill. Here's how you practice radical acceptance. Acknowledge the situation for what it is, Don't sugarcoat it. Remind yourself, I can't change the past, but I can control how I respond. Focus your energy on what you can do right now to move forward. Let's look at a scenario. You and your partner got into a big fight about money last week. They overspent on something unnecessary, and now you're behind on bills. You're still fuming, thinking, why would they do this? How could they be so careless? Applying the skill. Instead of staying stuck in frustration, you decide to practice radical acceptance. Acknowledge the situation, the money's already spent. I can't go back and undo it. Remind yourself, fighting about this won't pay the bills, but working together on a plan will. Focus on what you can control. You sit down with your partner and say, we can't change what happened, but let's figure out how to handle this moving forward. By accepting what's done, you free yourself from the cycle of anger and take steps toward fixing the problem. Why this works? Let's be real, holding on to anger about something you can't change only hurts you. Radical acceptance isn't about letting anyone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from emotional baggage that keeps you stuck. When you accept reality as it is, you can focus your energy on building something better. Skill 5, self-soothe with the 5 senses. Let me ask you something, what do you do when anger makes you feel like you're about to explode? For a lot of us, we yell, slam doors, or maybe even worse. But here's the thing, those reactions don't fix anything, right? They just leave us feeling worse or in deeper trouble. That's where self-soothing comes in. It's about calming yourself down in the moment so you don't make a bad situation worse. The cool part? You already have the tools you need, your 5 senses. This skill helps you focus on what you see, hear, smell, taste, and touch to calm the storm inside you. How to use the skill? Here's how you do it. When you're feeling like you're about to lose it, try this. Sight, look at something comforting or calming, like pictures of your kids, a favorite place, or nature. Sound, play music that helps you relax or a podcast that makes you laugh. Smell, light a candle, cook something with a soothing aroma, or even grab some cologne or perfume you like. Taste, have a cup of tea, a piece of candy, or something grounding like a crunchy snack. Touch, hold a soft blanket, squeeze a stress ball, or even just rub your hands together to refocus. The key is to engage your senses to shift your focus away from the anger. Let's look at a scenario. It's been a rough day, and you're already on edge. You come home, and the house is a mess, your partner didn't clean up like they said they would. You feel that familiar anger rising. Your first thought is to yell, "Are you serious? You had all day." Applying the skill. Instead of reacting, you take a self-soothe timeout. You head to another room and engage your senses. Sight, you pull up photos of your kids on your phone, looking at their smiles. Sound, you put on your favorite calming playlist. Smell, you light a candle with a scent you love, like vanilla or lavender. Taste, you grab a small snack, like a piece of chocolate, and let it melt in your mouth slowly. Touch, you hold a soft pillow, focusing on how it feels in your hands. By the time you come back out, you're no longer ready to yell. Instead, you say, "Hey, I'm feeling a little frustrated about the mess. Can we talk about how we can tackle it together?" Why this works? When anger takes over, it can feel like you're drowning in emotion. Self-soothing throws you a lifeline. It doesn't solve the problem on its own, but it gives you the space to calm down so you can respond, not react. The best part? You're taking care of yourself in the moment instead of letting the situation take control of you. Skill 6, TIPP skills, temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and paired muscle relaxation. Have you ever been so mad that you could feel it in your whole body? Like your heart's racing, your hands are shaking, and it feels like you're about to lose control? That's your body's fight or flight response kicking in, getting you ready for battle. But the truth is, you don't need to fight, you need to calm your body down before it makes the situation worse. TIPP skills are like your body's reset button. They help you cool off, literally, and bring your emotions back to a level where you can think straight. Let me break it down for you. T. temperature cool yourself down with cold water, ice, or even stepping outside in the fresh air. I. Intense exercise. Burn off the anger with a quick burst of physical activity, like push-ups or jumping jacks. P. Paced breathing. Slow your breathing with the same technique we practiced earlier. P. Paired muscle relaxation. Tense and relax your muscles to release tension. Let's look at a scenario. You're having a heated argument with your partner about something small, like the way they handled a conversation with a neighbor. It's getting louder and more intense, and you can feel yourself shaking, your voice rising. You're on the verge of saying something that's going to hurt. Applying the skill. You decide to use TIPP to cool down. T. Temperature. You excuse yourself to the bathroom, splash cold water on your face, and hold a cold towel to the back of your neck. The cold shocks your system, helping to slow your racing heart. I. Intense exercise. You drop to the floor and do 10 push-ups. It helps burn off that extra energy that's fueling your anger. P. Paced breathing. You sit down, inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4, and exhale for 6. P. Paired muscle relaxation. You clench your fists tightly for 5 seconds, then release. You do the same with your shoulders and jaw. After just a few minutes, your body starts to calm. You come back to the conversation and say, I needed a moment to cool down. Let's figure this out together. Why this works? Your body is the engine of your anger, and when it's running hot, you can't think straight. TIPP skills give you control over your body so you can stop the cycle before it spirals out of control. It's like rebooting your system. You come back clearer, calmer, and ready to handle the situation without making it worse. Skill 7. Grounding techniques. You ever feel like anger just takes you over? Like you're not even in the room anymore because your mind is spinning with what happened, what was said, or what you want to say back. That's how anger keeps control. It pulls you out of the present moment and traps you in your head. Grounding techniques are your way of snapping back to reality. They pull you out of that mental whirlwind and plant you firmly in the here and now. Once you're grounded, you can think clearly and respond instead of reacting. How to use the skill. Here's one of the most effective grounding exercises. 5. Look around and name 5 things you can see. 4. Notice 4 things you can touch and physically feel them. 3. Listen for 3 sounds in your environment. 2. Identify 2 things you can smell, or if nothing is around, imagine a scent you love. 1. Focus on 1 thing you can taste, like gum, a drink, or even just the inside of your mouth. This technique connects your senses to the moment, giving your brain the break it needs to calm down. Let's look at a scenario. You're arguing with your partner about money again. They just said something about you being irresponsible, and now you're seeing red. Your mind is spinning with thoughts like, they always blame me. I don't deserve this. You're about to lash out with something you know will escalate the fight. Applying the skill. Instead, you decide to ground yourself. 5. You look around and notice the lamp, the clock, your shoes, the coffee table, and the couch. 4. You touch the table, your shirt, the floor under your feet, and the arm of the chair. 3. You hear your partner's voice, the hum of the fridge, and a car passing outside. 2. You smell the coffee mug sitting nearby and the lingering scent of dinner. 1. You take a sip of water and focus on the cool taste. As you move through these steps, your mind clears. The intense emotions start to settle, and instead of yelling, you say, I hear what you're saying about money. Let's sit down and figure this out together. Why this works? Here's the thing, anger thrives on emotional chaos. Grounding techniques cut through that chaos and reconnect you to the moment. When you're focused on what's real and right in front of you, it's harder for your anger to control you. Grounding helps you keep your cool and respond in a way that matches who you want to be. Skill 8. Problem solving. Let me hit you with some truth, anger isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's your brain's way of saying, hey, there's a problem here, and it needs fixing. But the mistake most people make is reacting to the emotion instead of addressing the actual problem. That's where problem solving comes in. Problem solving is about shifting your focus from the anger to the solution. It's not about ignoring how you feel, it's about taking that energy and putting it to work for you instead of against you. How to use the skill. Here's a simple 4-step process. Identify the problem. What's really going on here? Get specific. Brainstorm solutions. Come up with as many ideas as you can, even if they seem silly. Pick the best solution. Choose the one that feels the most practical and fair. Take action. Put your solution into motion and see how it works. Let's look at a scenario. You and your partner are fighting about who's doing more around the house. They say, "I feel like I'm doing everything," and you're thinking, "What about all the stuff I do?" The fight keeps going in circles, and you're getting angrier by the second. Applying the skill. Instead of continuing to argue, you pause and decide to focus on solving the problem. Identify the problem. The real issue is that your partner feels overwhelmed, and you feel like your contributions aren't being noticed. Brainstorm solutions. You both come up with ideas. Make a chore chart, split tasks more evenly, or take turns deciding who does what each week. Pick the best solution. You agree to create a list of weekly tasks and divide them up together. Take action. You grab a notebook, sit down with your partner, and write out the plan. By the end of the conversation, you're working as a team instead of fighting. The problem is on its way to being solved, and the anger is no longer in control. Why this works? Here's the thing, fighting about a problem doesn't fix it. Problem solving does. When you shift your energy into finding solutions, you're not just avoiding a fight, you're building a better relationship. Plus, taking action feels way better than staying stuck in anger. It's a win-win. Skill 9. Positive self-talk. Let me ask you something. How do you talk to yourself when you're angry? If you're like most people, it's probably not very kind. You think things like, "Why does this always happen to me? I'm such an idiot. They don't respect me." These kinds of thoughts are like throwing gasoline on the fire. They make you feel worse and push you closer to losing control. Positive self-talk flips the script. It's about being your own coach instead of your own critic. It helps you calm down, refocus, and stay in control, even when the situation feels overwhelming. How to use the skill. Here's how you can practice positive self-talk in the heat of the moment. Notice the negative thought. What are you saying to yourself that's making you angrier? Challenge it. Is this thought helping me, or is it making things worse? Replace it. Tell yourself something calmer and more constructive, like you're talking to a friend who needs encouragement. Let's look at a scenario. You're fixing something around the house, and your partner comes over and points out a mistake you made. You're already frustrated, and your brain starts shouting, "Why do they always criticize me? I can't do anything right." You feel your anger building, and you're about to snap back. If you're so perfect, why don't you do it yourself? Applying the skill. Instead of reacting, you pause and use positive self-talk. Notice the negative thought. They always criticize me. Challenge it. Is that true? No, they've actually praised me before. Maybe they're just trying to help, even if it doesn't come out the right way. Replace it. I'm doing my best, and I can handle this. I don't have to take their comment personally. With that mindset, you take a breath and say, "Thanks for pointing that out. I'll fix it." You avoid a fight and keep your confidence intact. Why this works? Here's the thing, the way you talk to yourself shapes the way you act. If you're constantly putting yourself down, your anger is going to grow. But when you remind yourself that you're capable, in control, and worthy of respect, you take the power back. Positive self-talk doesn't just calm your anger, it builds your confidence and helps you respond in ways you'll be proud of. Skill 10. Distraction techniques. You ever notice how, when you're mad, the longer you sit and stew, the worse it gets? It's like your mind keeps replaying the same scene, adding more fuel to the fire each time. That's where distraction techniques come in. Sometimes, the best way to keep your cool is to step away and focus on something completely different. Distraction isn't about ignoring the problem forever, it's about giving yourself space to calm down so you can handle it with a clear head. How to use the skill. Here are some simple distraction techniques to try when you're in the heat of the moment. Physical activity. Go for a walk, do some jumping jacks, or clean something. Hobbies: pick up a book, play a game, or work on a hobby you enjoy. Mind games: count backward from 100, solve a puzzle, or play a memory game. Entertainment: watch a funny video, listen to music, or put on a podcast. Help someone else: do a small act of kindness, it shifts your focus completely. Let's look at a scenario. You're upset because your partner made plans without telling you, and now your whole evening feels disrupted. You're pacing the house, thinking, they don't respect me. They always make decisions without me. You're about to confront them with anger. Applying the skill. Instead of diving into the fight, you use a distraction technique. You put on your sneakers and go for a quick walk around the block. While walking, you play your favorite playlist or podcast to shift your mood. By the time you get home, you're calmer and less focused on your anger. Now, instead of starting a fight, you say, "Hey, I felt a little blindsided by those plans. Can we check in with each other next time before making changes to the schedule?" Why this works? Anger thrives on overthinking and ruminating. When you distract yourself, you break that cycle and give your brain a chance to reset. It's not about avoiding the issue, it's about setting yourself up to handle it without making things worse. Distraction puts time and space between you and your reaction, which can make all the difference. Skill 11, emotion labeling. Have you ever been so angry that you couldn't even figure out why? Like you're just mad, and everything feels like it's fueling that fire? Here's the thing, anger is often a mask for other emotions, like frustration, sadness, fear, or even embarrassment. But if you don't know what's underneath that anger, you can't deal with it. Emotion labeling is about putting a name to what you're really feeling. When you name it, you tame it. It's like shining a light in a dark room, you can finally see what's going on and decide how to handle it. How to use the skill. Here's how you can label your emotions. Pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Go deeper. If it's anger, is there another emotion underneath it, like hurt or fear? Say it out loud or in your head. I feel emotion, like I feel frustrated, or I feel unappreciated. When you name your emotion, you take the first step toward controlling it. Let's look at a scenario. You've been working all day, and when you get home, your partner barely looks up from their phone. You feel ignored and unimportant. Your anger starts to build, and you're about to snap. Do you even care that I'm here? Applying the skill. Before you react, you pause and label your emotions. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? At first, it seems like just anger. Go deeper. Am I angry, or am I feeling hurt because I wanted their attention? Label it. I feel hurt and unappreciated. Now, instead of lashing out, you say, I was really looking forward to seeing you. Can we talk for a bit? You've named the real emotion and communicated it without starting a fight. Why this works? Anger loves to run the show, but it's often just the loudest emotion in the room. When you take the time to label your feelings, you take away anger's power and uncover what's really going on. And when you know the real emotion, you can address it in a way that actually helps, not hurts. Skill 12, behavioral activation. You ever notice how, when you're angry, it's easy to just sit there and stew? You replay the argument, think about what you wish you'd said, and get angrier by the second. The problem is, sitting around doesn't just let the anger sit, it feeds it. Behavioral activation is about breaking that cycle by getting up and doing something positive. When you move your body or engage in something productive, it's like flipping a switch in your brain. You're redirecting all that anger energy into action that actually makes you feel better. How to use the skill. Here's how to practice behavioral activation. Get moving, do something physical, clean, exercise, or go for a walk. Engage in a positive activity, pick something you enjoy, like playing with your kids, working on a hobby, or cooking. Focus on productivity, channel your energy into solving a problem or tackling a task you've been putting off. Let's look at a scenario. You and your partner just had an argument about spending money. You're frustrated and thinking, they don't understand how hard I work. Why do I even bother? You sit on the couch, arms crossed, stewing in the anger. Applying the skill. Instead of staying stuck, you choose behavioral activation. You get up and decide to clean the kitchen. The physical movement helps burn off some of the frustration. While cleaning, you put on your favorite music, which starts to shift your mood. By the time you're done, you feel calmer, and the argument doesn't seem as overwhelming. Now, you're ready to approach your partner and say, "I know we're both stressed about money. Let's talk about how we can handle this together." Why this works? Anger feeds on inaction. When you just sit with it, it grows. Behavioral activation gives you an outlet for that energy and helps you refocus on what's actually important. Plus, getting something done, whether it's cleaning, exercising, or even just playing a game, gives you a sense of accomplishment, which makes it easier to handle whatever comes next. Skill 13, Progressive Muscle Relaxation, PMR. Let's talk about how anger feels in your body. You've been there, your jaw tightens, your fists clench, and it feels like you're carrying a ton of tension in your shoulders. That's your body's way of getting ready for a fight, even if the fight isn't actually happening. But here's the thing, if you can release that tension, it's like deflating the balloon of anger before it pops. That's where progressive muscle relaxation, PMR, comes in. It's a step-by-step technique to help your body let go of all that tension, and when your body relaxes, your mind follows. How to use the skill? Here's how PMR works. Sit in a comfortable spot and take a deep breath. Focus on one part of your body at a time, start with your hands, for example. Tense the muscles in that area for 5 to 10 seconds. Squeeze your fists tight, then release. Feel the difference between tension and relaxation. Move to the next part of your body, your shoulders, arms, legs, etc., and repeat the process. By the time you've worked through your whole body, you'll feel lighter, calmer, and more in control. Let's look at a scenario. You're at home, and your partner makes a comment about you being late for something important earlier in the day. You feel the tension hit immediately, your jaw tightens, your shoulders go up, and your fists clench. You're about to snap back with something like, "Do you think you're perfect?" Applying the skill. Instead of letting the tension take over, you use PMR. You sit down on the couch and start with your fists. You clench them tightly for 5 seconds, then release. Next, you move to your shoulders. You raise them up to your ears, hold them for 5 seconds, then drop them completely. You keep going, tensing and relaxing your legs, your jaw, and even your toes. As you release the physical tension, you notice your anger starts to ease. Now, instead of snapping, you say calmly, "I was running late, and I know that was frustrating. Let's figure out how to handle this better next time." Why this works? Anger lives in your body as much as it does in your mind. When you release that physical tension, it's like opening a pressure valve. You give yourself the space to think clearly and act in a way you won't regret. PMR is simple, but it's powerful, and it's something you can do anywhere, at home, in your car, or even in the middle of a heated moment. Skill 14, Radical Acceptance. Let's be real, sometimes life hits you with stuff you can't change. Your partner says something hurtful, someone messes up the finances, or a situation from the past keeps coming back to haunt you. You can't rewind the clock, no matter how much you want to. Radical acceptance is about facing reality as it is, not as you wish it was. It's not about agreeing with the situation or saying it's okay, it's about letting go of the fight with what's already happened. When you stop resisting the reality of the moment, you free up your energy to focus on what you can control. How to use the skill? Here's how to practice radical acceptance. Acknowledge the situation, say to yourself, "This is the way it is right now." Remind yourself, fighting reality doesn't change it, but I can choose how to respond. Refocus on your next step, ask yourself, what's the most helpful thing I can do right now? Let's look at a scenario. Your partner bought something expensive without talking to you, and now you're behind on bills. You're furious and thinking, how could they do this? This is so irresponsible. You're ready to keep fighting about it, even though the money's already spent. Applying the skill. Instead of going in circles, you practice radical acceptance. Acknowledge the situation, you tell yourself, the money is already gone. No amount of arguing will change that. Remind yourself, fighting about this isn't going to pay the bills. What I can control is what we do next. Refocus on your next step. You sit down with your partner and say, "This puts us in a tough spot, but let's figure out how to adjust the budget to cover it." By accepting what's already happened, you save your energy for finding solutions instead of fueling the fire. Why this works? Let's face it, holding on to anger about something you can't change only keeps you stuck. Radical acceptance isn't about giving up or letting people off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional struggle with reality so you can move forward. It's not easy, but it's a game changer when it comes to keeping your cool and staying in control. Skill 15, self-soothe with the 5 senses. You know those moments when you're so angry that it feels like you're about to explode? Your heart's pounding, your muscles are tight, and your mind's racing a mile a minute. You're caught up in the heat of the moment, and it feels like there's no way out. Here's the thing, you can calm yourself down by using your 5 senses. Self-soothing with sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch is like hitting the reset button on your body and mind. When you calm your senses, you calm your emotions. It's that simple. How to use the skill. Here's how you self-soothe with each sense. Sight, look at something calming, like nature outside your window or photos of people you love. Sound, listen to music that relaxes you, a podcast you enjoy, or even the sounds around you. Smell, use a favorite scent like a candle, essential oil, or even the smell of coffee or fresh air. Taste, sip on tea, eat a piece of chocolate, or chew gum, anything that helps ground you in the moment. Touch, hold something soft, take a warm shower, or feel the texture of something comforting, like a blanket. Let's look at a scenario. You and your partner just had a big fight, and they stormed out of the house. You're left standing there, shaking with anger and replaying the argument in your head. You're tempted to punch a wall or call them to yell more. Applying the skill. Instead, you decide to self-soothe with your senses. Sight, you sit down and look at a photo of your kids on your phone, focusing on their smiles. Sound, you play a calming playlist with music that always makes you feel better. Smell, you light a candle with a scent you love, like lavender or vanilla. Taste, you grab a glass of cold water and take small sips, focusing on the taste. Touch, you grab a soft blanket, wrap it around yourself, and feel its warmth. By the time you're done, your body is calm, your mind is clearer, and you're no longer stuck in the anger. Now, you can think about what to do next without letting your emotions take over. Why this works? When anger takes control, your body feels it just as much as your mind. Self-soothing through your senses helps you focus on something other than the anger, giving your emotions a chance to settle. It's not about avoiding the issue, it's about calming yourself enough to handle it in a way that works for you instead of against you. Skill 16, values-based action. Let me ask you something, when you're angry, do you ever stop to think about what kind of person you want to be in that moment? Probably not, right? Most of us just react, and sometimes those reactions don't line up with the kind of person we actually want to be. Values-based action is about hitting pause and asking yourself, what's important to me here? What kind of person do I want to be in this situation? Then, you let your values guide your actions. It's about staying true to yourself, even when emotions are running high. How to use the skill. Here's how to practice values-based action. Identify your core value, what's most important to you in this moment. Respect? Honesty? Being a good parent or partner? Ask yourself, how can I act in a way that aligns with that value? Take action based on your values, not just your emotions. Let's look at a scenario. You're in the middle of an argument with your partner about something that happened at a family gathering. They say something that hits below the belt, and you're furious. Your first instinct is to fire back with something even more hurtful, like, well, at least I'm not as selfish as you. Applying the skill. Before reacting, you pause and think about your values. Identify your value, you realize that respect is really important to you in your relationships. Ask yourself, if respect is my value, what's the best way to respond? You decide that yelling or insulting them doesn't fit with who you want to be. Take action. Instead of lashing out, you say, I'm feeling really hurt right now. Can we talk about this calmly? By focusing on your values, you turn a moment that could have escalated into a chance to handle the conflict with respect and integrity. Why this works? When you let anger guide your actions, it's easy to end up doing or saying something you regret. But when you let your values guide you, you're not just reacting, you're acting in a way that reflects the kind of person you want to be. Values-based action gives you the power to stay true to yourself, no matter how tough the situation gets. Skill 17. Behavioral experiments. Let's keep it real. When you're angry, it's easy to fall into the same patterns over and over again. Maybe you always yell, shut down, or walk away, and it never really fixes anything. That's because anger loves routines, even the ones that don't work. Behavioral experiments are all about breaking those patterns by trying something new. Think of it like this: what would happen if you handled your anger differently this time? You test it out, see the results, and learn from it. Sometimes the smallest change can make the biggest difference. How to use the skill. Here's how to do a behavioral experiment. Notice your usual reaction. What do you typically do when you're angry in this type of situation? Plan a new response. Think of something different you could do that might work better. Test it out. Try the new response and see what happens. Reflect. Did it work? How did it feel? What can you learn from it? Let's look at a scenario. Every time your partner leaves their laundry on the floor, you yell, "Why can't you ever pick up after yourself?" They get defensive, and it turns into a fight. This has happened so many times that you already know where it's headed, but you don't know how to stop it. Applying the skill. You decide to try a behavioral experiment. Notice your usual reaction. You usually yell and accuse them, which leads to more conflict. Plan a new response. You decide to calmly point out the laundry and make a respectful request instead. Test it out. When you see the laundry on the floor, you take a deep breath and say, "Hey, I'd really appreciate it if you could put your laundry in the basket when you're done." Reflect. To your surprise, they say, "Oh, my bad, I'll grab it now." The fight never happens, and you both move on without any drama. By trying something different, you've learned that calm communication works better than yelling in this situation. Why this works? When you're stuck in the same cycle, it's easy to feel like nothing will ever change. Behavioral experiments show you that change is possible. They give you a way to step out of your comfort zone, test new approaches, and find what works. And even if it doesn't go perfectly, you learn something valuable that you can use next time. Skill 18. Body awareness. Let's talk about how anger shows up in your body. You know the feeling. Your chest tightens, your fists clench, your jaw locks, and your whole body feels like it's bracing for a fight. That's your body trying to tell you, "Hey, something's going on here." The problem is, if you don't listen to those signals, they'll push you into reacting before you've had a chance to think. Body awareness is about noticing those physical cues early so you can hit pause before things spiral out of control. It's like catching a fire when it's just a little smoke instead of letting it turn into a full-blown blaze. How to use the skill. Here's how to practice body awareness. Pay attention. Start noticing what happens in your body when you get angry: tight fists, a pounding heart, tense shoulders. Pause and name it. Say to yourself, "My hands are clenched," or "My chest feels tight." Respond. Use a calming technique, like deep breathing or progressive muscle relaxation, to address the physical tension before it drives your reaction. Let's look at a scenario. You're in the middle of a disagreement with your partner about plans for the weekend. They're insisting on something you don't want to do, and you're feeling ignored. As the conversation gets more heated, you notice your fists are clenched, your shoulders are rising, and your breathing is shallow. You're about to say something sharp like, "Why do you always have to get your way?" Applying the skill. Instead of reacting, you use body awareness. Pay attention. You notice your fists are clenched and your shoulders feel tight. Pause and name it. You think, "My body's gearing up for a fight, I need to calm down." Respond. You take a deep breath, unclench your fists, and drop your shoulders. As you exhale, you feel the tension start to ease. Now, instead of lashing out, you say, Can we figure out a plan that works for both of us? The conversation stays productive instead of turning into a fight. Why this works? Your body often knows you're angry before your brain does. When you learn to recognize those signals, you can step in and take control before the anger takes over. Body awareness gives you the chance to respond with intention instead of reacting on autopilot. It's a simple but powerful way to break the cycle. Skill 19. Pros and cons. When you're angry, it's easy to act on impulse. You say the first thing that comes to mind, slam the door, or walk out, and later, you realize it just made things worse. That's where pros and cons come in. It's like a mental checklist to help you pause and think before you act. Pros and cons are all about asking yourself, what's the upside of doing this? What's the downside? Then, you use that quick analysis to choose a response that helps you instead of hurting you. How to use the skill. Here's how to use the pros and cons technique. Pause. Take a moment to step back from the situation. Weigh the options. Think about the pros and cons of acting on your anger versus staying calm. Choose the better option. Go with the action that aligns with your goals, values, and what will work best in the long run. Let's look at a scenario. You and your partner are arguing about a decision involving the kids. They've made a choice without consulting you, and you feel disrespected. You're ready to shout, "Why do you always leave me out of this?" Applying the skill. Instead of reacting immediately, you use pros and cons. Pause. You take a deep breath and step into another room for a minute. Weigh the options. Pro of yelling, you get to vent your frustration. Con of yelling, it'll escalate the argument and damage trust. Pro of staying calm, you can address the issue constructively and be heard. Con of staying calm, you have to hold back your anger for now. Choose the better option. You decide that staying calm is the better move. You return and say, "I felt left out of that decision. Can we talk about how we can handle this differently in the future?" The result? You're addressing the problem without creating a bigger one. Why this works? Here's the thing, acting on impulse might feel good in the moment, but it rarely helps in the long run. Pros and cons give you a chance to slow down and make a decision that works for you, not against you. It's not about avoiding conflict, it's about handling it in a way that moves things forward instead of backward. Skill 20. Seeking social support. Let's be honest, when you're angry, it can feel like you're alone in it. Maybe you think, no one would understand what I'm dealing with. But here's the truth, bottling up that anger only makes it worse, and acting on it in the wrong way can lead to consequences you don't want. That's where social support comes in. Reaching out to someone you trust, a friend, family member, or mentor, can give you a fresh perspective, help you calm down, and remind you that you're not alone. A good conversation can sometimes be the thing that helps you avoid making a bad situation worse. How to use the skill. Here's how to seek social support in a way that's helpful. Choose someone you trust. Pick someone who listens without judgment and can help you think clearly. Be honest about your feelings, share what's going on and how you're feeling. Ask for help or perspective. You can ask for advice, or just say, "I need to vent." Can you listen? Follow through with what you learn. Take any helpful advice or insight they offer and put it into action. Let's look at a scenario. You just got into a heated argument with your partner about how they handled a family situation. You're furious, and you feel like you're about to say something you'll regret. Instead of letting the anger take over, you decide to call your cousin, a person you know always keeps it real with you. Applying the skill. Choose someone you trust. You call your cousin and say, "I'm mad as hell right now, and I just need someone to talk to." Be honest about your feelings. You explain what happened and why it upset you. Your cousin listens and says, "I get why you're angry, but if you yell at them, it's only going to make things worse." Take a minute, and then talk to them calmly. Ask for perspective. You ask, "How would you handle this?" and they suggest a way to approach the conversation that doesn't involve shouting. Follow through. You take their advice, cool off, and approach your partner later with a calm tone. "I was upset earlier, but I want to talk about what happened without us arguing." By reaching out for support, you avoided saying something hurtful in the heat of the moment and found a better way to handle the situation. Why this works. Anger can feel isolating, but you don't have to face it alone. Reaching out to someone you trust gives you a fresh perspective and helps you get out of your own head. Plus, just talking it out can make you feel lighter and more in control. Social support isn't just about solving the problem, it's about reminding yourself that you're not in this fight by yourself. Alright, let's wrap this up. First off, I want to say I'm proud of you for taking the time to learn these skills. Look, we've all been in situations where anger got the better of us, where we said or did something we wish we could take back. But here's the thing, that doesn't have to be the story of your life. What you've learned today are real tools, practical, powerful ways to handle anger before it handles you. Whether it's taking a deep breath, using stop, grounding yourself, or even calling someone you trust, these skills aren't just about avoiding trouble. They're about building the kind of life you want, a life where you're in control, where your relationships are strong, and where you don't let a moment of anger define who you are. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy or that you'll get it perfect every time, nobody does. But every time you use one of these skills, you're making a choice to break the cycle. You're choosing to respond instead of react. And that's powerful. So, the next time anger shows up, remember, you've got options. You've got the tools to handle it. And every time you make a better choice, you're not just avoiding a fight, you're creating a better future for yourself and the people you care about. Stay strong, stay in control, and keep building the life you deserve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.